Welcome everyone to this lecture that will delve a little into the sonorous and audible dimension of British Islam in the context of Cambridge in the United Kingdom. My name is Alessia Frescura. I'm currently a research associate at the University of Suffolk and honorary research fellow at the University of Liverpool, and this lecture was originally presented as part of the 15th Architecture, Culture and Spirituality Forum Symposium that took place earlier in January 2026 in beautiful Varanasi, India. I will begin my contribution by thanking wholeheartedly all the people that poured time and energies in organizing such outstanding opportunity of encounter, which the symposium was. And also, I would like to extend my gratitude to all the people that helped out behind the scenes, including the reviewers that looked at the abstract for the study earlier in summer and pointed out wisely that it would have been a challenge for the presentation, which I can confirm it was the case. And while selecting material to present, I came across few words by one of the participants in the study, which captured this challenge very vividly, although unknowingly, and while talking about a completely different matter.
How could you convey the totality of an experience to someone with tools that are necessarily limited, trying to describe something that potentially goes beyond those limits? Something about that experience I'm going to lose when I try and convey it. And if I'm losing something, am I truly representing that experience to other people if I attempt to? And okay, if now they're only feeling 5% of what I felt in my description of that thing, would there be necessarily like a drive to engage in that thing? I'm saying it's a 5% experience, but for that person, that's 100% of what I'm telling them.
And with this, I would like to add that this is not just an exploratory study, but is also an ongoing one. So please do not expect any formal discussion or conclusion at this stage. And also, I would like to invite you, wherever you will find yourself and whenever it's going to happen for you, that you come across this recording, to feel free to reach out and let us know any comment or thoughts that may arise for you throughout the following. Also, I will invite you, in case it's something doable on your end, to wear headphones throughout the presentation, as this may enhance its clarity and quality. I will now frame the study in the context of the session in which it was originally presented, titled Phenomenology, Empirical Means, and Sacred Space. In terms of phenomenology, the study is centered around the sonorous and audible dimensions, which are approached through the study of acoustics on one end, so focusing on how sound behaves in space, informed by geometry, materials, and volumes, and on the other hand, attempting the characterization of its overall sonic environment, or soundscape, which in this case will be a specific type of devotional soundscape. In terms of empirical means, the study adopts a mixed method. So on one side, in the best tradition of the acoustic discipline, we conducted measurements, which will at a later stage help the development of a digital twins of the space, enabling us to conduct auralizations, meaning we will be able to simulate how the space will sound, for example, after installing an acoustic treatment. On the other hand, while attempting to characterize the devotional soundscape, we reach out to art-based research, and we are employing a participatory methodology, which essentially is an auditory counterpart of the participant-led photography technique, which here becomes a participant-led recording technique instead. The methodology comprises three main phases. It starts by asking participants belonging to the community of the mosque to share recordings of sounds that are significant, meaningful, resonant, or representative to them of their worship experience. In the second phase, we invite the participants to take part in a sound elicitation interview, in which we listen to the sound that they shared together and we discuss them at depth. And these are the phases that are currently ongoing. Once this will be finalized, we will move on to phase 3, entailing a qualitative grounded aural pattern analysis that will bring together the data emerging from the recordings shared, but also from the transcript of the interviews. In the interviews, we also dedicated a section to inquire about the effect of acoustics on the worship experience. And before engaging with the community, we had few conversations with Imam, which were absolutely key in situating us better before approaching an Islamic community, but also in starting to grasp a little about the deep significance of sound in Islam. The sacred space that we have the absolute honor of being conducting the study in the premises of is Cambridge Central Mosque, which besides being a stunning piece of architecture, also boasts a very wide, diverse, inclusive, and collaborative community, to which we owe our biggest appreciation for taking part in this study so willingly. And this has been possible in the first place, thank you to the kindness and to the support of the Directorate and Administration of the Mosque, which has been so supportive in holding space for the study throughout their very, very busy schedule. Thank you for that. I will now move on to present few of the preliminary findings and outcomes from the study, starting with this participant-led sound map of the mosque, which essentially entails the plan of the architecture that has been populated with the sound recording located in space as shared by the participant. Thanks to this instrument, we are able to navigate an essentially visual orthogonal representation, adding to it all different depth of meaning, allowing us to hear what happened in the space and also how the different spaces sound like. I have a couple of examples. One is from the atrium. And the other is from the mother and baby room.
What's the time? Go! What's the time, Mr. Wolf? Look at the wall over there.
Another of the preliminary findings are these participant-led sound walks, which were essentially possible because some of the participants share cinematic recordings that we edited to include their own description of it.
So this is me in the car park in the basement, and I got out, and what sounds like traffic is actually the filtration tank. Then you can hear me climbing the steps, and you can hear a bird, which I think is a pigeon, which is up in one of the trunks in the garden area. Then you can hear the fountain, which is outside. And then you can hear the gates, because the security guard came to open the gates.
Thanks to these sound walks, we are able to experience the transitions between different mosque spaces. And along these lines, I will now shift the focus towards one of the perhaps key transitions that define the experience of worshippers, and is the one that welcomed them through the Islamic garden from Mill Road, linked by the sound of water enter the wudu areas for the ritual cleansing, reach the prayer hall, where we will have also a little digression on acoustics, and return through the atrium. I will get silent now so we can listen together to some of the voices and sounds that inhabit Cambridge Central Mosque.
Insects or birds or little squirrels and, these things enter the garden adds its own sound to the space. So when you have bird song and it happens to be in the apple tree that's within the garden, that is good architecture resonating with nature, such that nature then feels at home in that space.
For me, as soon as I've seen that water fountain, I've heard the sound of the water bounce it, I'm like, I'm here, I'm in zone, I'm in the zone. And so it begins. I am obsessed with that water fountain. First time you've seen it, how beautifully that marble design is, and that sound of that water fountain, it is so soothing to me. Like, instantly, if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling frustrated, it is the most soothing impact it can have on me. it's like my body is in tune with it. I feel at ease, I feel peace, I feel this sense of solitude as well when I'm listening to that water. It just does something to my heart.
You could think I'm engaging with water in a very quote-unquote spiritual way, i.e. I'm intending to use this water to purify my limbs such that I am ritually clean to enter the prayer that I'm moving towards. You could be really, really focused about that. And then you have this, what sounds like an engine just going off behind you that just, again, slaps you in the back with the mundane. So again, it was... I found it kind of funny that they're very close to each other.
You might finish, you're drying off, like you put your scarf back on and you're just hearing this sound at that point. So yeah, I felt like it was a very like calming sound as well. The sound is just associated to like the act of actually doing wudu, and that's something very like deep in and of itself. By the end of finishing the wudu, you should be just very pure.
When this sound is being called, you stop and you want to listen to it, even if it's for a minute or 2 minutes, you just want to listen to it.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا
And so yes, it's essentially the Maghrib prayer. That's kind of what's happening, and so I keep returning to this recording. It's like my favorite one in my like voice memo app, because I love the way he's reciting, because it's soft, it's melodic. His one specifically, it's very tempered. There's something about it that like resonates very deeply. So I always come back to it.
For me, the sound of the Amin is like, it's a symbol of like praying with other people. And especially when the sound is like, you can hear that it's quite loud and almost like a slight echo. So, I don't know, I just feel like that indicates like a full room and everyone together.
أقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة واعتصموا بالله هو مولاكم فنعم المولى ونعم النصير. الله.
I know social norms are dictating that you can't cry like this baby did, But the baby crying in a moment like this, where there is a prayer going on, is teaching you a valuable lesson that maybe reserve it for, it's just me and God right now. You know, I'm going to leave it all there. I'm going to just cry my eyes out.
The prayer hall is actually the space where we focused our acoustic inquiry, and you can see some photographs that were shot throughout the process, in which we employed different types of microphones to be able to acquire parameters both in time and space. And across all the parameters that we acquire and the acoustical aspect that felt particularly relevant for a space of worship, I selected a couple. The first being the reverberation, which is classically represented in acoustics by the reverberation time. That is the time that it takes for a sound to fade out completely after being generated in a given space. And we did measure the average reverberation time in the prayer hall of Cambridge Central Mosque being of 2.7 seconds, meaning a speech will sound something like this.
Tonight I would like to share different kind of advice.
And you heard just before our recitation resonate in the space instead. So this value here is not a random value, is there by design. And the effect of echoes and reverberation on the worship is also something that we inquired throughout interviews.
I think the echo kind of heightens the experience of anything that's being said. So if it's something good, like it makes you feel it even more. If it's something kind of like a warning, it makes you feel that fear even more as well.
I think reverberation can kind of put you at a distance from the source of the sound, and so I enjoy the other extreme of no reverberation and a very dampened sound, because you're close to it and you feel as though you're closer to the scripture.
The echo kind of surrounds me, if that makes sense. Like if it were an image, I could literally feel the sound waves going around me, covering me almost. And again, depending on who's reciting or who's giving the speech or the sermon, it can sometimes, like you said, give you goosebumps or like make you have like some sort of physical reaction, either deep within or literally with the sort of reaction that the body gives.
The other unmissable aspect is actually silence, which not exhaustively, but we can have a little idea about it through the measuring of background noise level. And although you may not be very familiar with this type of graph here on the left, you may still appreciate how the values that we measured are all below, mostly below the lowest curve, which in fact marked the perception of 15 decibel in terms of sound pressure level. And this somehow highlight the quietness of the space, which again is remarkable, especially in consideration of the fact that this mosque is built in an urban setting. And of course, this highlight the intentionality and attention of the design in providing the community with a space of stillness.
I think silence was something that I felt was really important to talk about. But those moments of silence, especially within the prayer, I feel like they are super precious, because it gives me, it's just a sense of peace that you feel in those moments. Because sometimes in those moments of silence, you might have like a thought that comes to your mind, but like not a distracting thought, a reflective thought. Yeah, so I feel like those are the moments where, okay, your voice is quiet, everyone else's voice is quiet, you're listening.
The way the air is moving through the space, the way like the pillars and these wooden pillars are vibrating, you know, like there's something. When I've been there, like after everyone's gone, you would think that there'd be a lot of noise, or like a lot of the sound of air falling through the cracks and things like that, but no, it's very silent. Actually, it's very like almost strangely silent. Like there's so much space, so much room to breathe. It's very still. It's very serene.
When you are in the prayer hall and it's sometimes like 4 other people, there is something so spiritual that it's like indescribable, in that sense that no one, unless you are in there, experiences. And it's in such a big, vast environment, suddenly it becomes a really intimate experience. For example, I'm not praying, I'm not doing anything, I'm just sat there and I'm absorbing that silence. You could also hear a pin drop. That's how quiet that prayer hall can be sometimes. And then actually I've taken my students to the mosque and we have this moment where we sit for 2 minutes, total silence, and we just take it in.
Some areas of the mosque surprise you when there's silence. Some areas of the mosque, you expect silence, and then it takes on a very, very different flavor. Sometimes even in the silence, because you know that every individual is doing something, i.e. they're reciting something to themselves or they're praying something to themselves, even the silence can feel quite loud.
And we will now resume and conclude our transition, exiting through the atrium.
I guess it's the bustle and the hubbub of noise there. This was the point when people were exiting. They've just finished their 2 units of Friday prayer, and they were exiting, sort of meeting their families, greeting their loved ones. And I just thought, what a beautiful moment to capture. It is community, but it's also love. It's this sense of unity. It's this sense of, we're here for each other. And this, it actually reminds me of a word in Arabic, and we talked about this a lot when I was younger, a sense of an ummah being the Muslim community of the Muslim nation, the brotherhood, the sisterhood.
And to conclude, I will share with you that up to now the study seems going in a good direction, especially in supporting and answering few of the intentions behind it, which were also the root of the very reason why we selected to apply these methodologies in the first place. And these are, in fact, the will of capturing the diversity in the response, which you may have noticed and observed throughout the presentation, how different participants had very different responses to even similar or same sounds and acoustic effects. And also the will of characterizing the devotional soundscape, not only through its most prominent components, which in fact might be shared across mosques, but also capturing its most subtle and sometimes overheard components, which we may argue perhaps are the one that contribute the most to placemaking.
There's a tea urn in the cafe area, which when it's switched on, you hear the water boiling. And I like that because after I've done a tour, I go and have a cup of tea, and it just is quite a reassuring sound to kind of know that you're going to have a cup of tea. So it makes you relax and feel like you're at home. The balcony, you can actually hear the whole of the mosque, and from the balcony, sometimes it's the best place to kind of hear the wood creaking.
So if everyone's like slightly whispering together, sometimes you can hear it all together, and but it's very faint. I also think like little things like the rustling of people just like moving as well, or getting to their places, things like that.
Oh, 100%. There are definitely... This is really going to be quite menial, but I really think these things matter. So, for example, I would say the sounds of like the doors shutting. So when people have entered the prayer hall, we have that final thud. It's like, right, we're all in now.
Outside in the garden, there is like quite a loud hum you can hear. It's like of this machine running, and I personally really enjoy it, and I'll go and sit on that side of the garden so I can hear it, and then when I recite the Quran, I can kind of use it as my point of reference, because it's just a stable drone sound, and so I'll recite within that frequency range.
Thank you so much for listening.